Today we'll be doing a full tutorial of the ThinkorSwim web platform. That'll include everything from how to buy and sell stock, how to trade options, and how to customize the charts within there. There is obviously a lot to cover, so please use the timestamps down below if you do need to jump ahead to a specific topic. Now, for those of you watching, if you already have a TD Ameritrade or soon to be a Schwab account, you are already going to have access to both ThinkorSwim or ThinkorSwim Web. In order to access it, you will simply need to pull up the website trade.thinkorswim.com. Then go ahead and log in with the exact same user ID and password that you normally use. After getting logged in, you'll probably notice that it looks quite a bit different than the desktop version of ThinkorSwim. There's not quite as much going on, and honestly, it is far simpler to use, especially if you are brand new to trading. Now, although it is also more limited in what you can do and what you can customize, this web-based version of ThinkorSwim is really starting to grow on me. If we were to just jump right in, the very first thing you'll notice is the main screen right here in the center, which is currently displaying my positions page. Coming over here to the far left-hand side, you'll also find a little sidebar here, and on the left-hand side of that, you also get a navigational bar as well. That little navigational bar is how we're going to get around, how we're going to access all the tools within here. At the very top, you'll first find the positions page, which is the page we are currently on, and it's going to show all of the open and active positions in this account right now. Below that, you'll have the trade page where we can go to place the actual trades themselves. Below that is the charts page to, you guessed it, view a nice big chart of the stock and its recent price history. And then finally, right below that, you've also got the scans tab, which can be used to actually find things to trade, to find things that meet all of your criteria right now. You'll also notice that right up here at the very top of the platform, you can also find a search box where you can enter the symbol of the stock that you want to trade and then get taken directly to that stock's trade page. We're going to get to that in just a minute, but first, coming over here to the far right-hand side, you will also find the settings menu where you could come to adjust some of the basic platform settings. If we were to come here and actually click on it, down here below, you could adjust things like the color mode. So at the moment, I've got the dark mode selected, but if I click on that little toggle there, you can now see I flipped it to the light version of ThinkorSwim. To flip it back, we'll just click on that toggle once again. I could also come down here below and adjust the order defaults simply by clicking on it. Then back up here at the top, I can adjust the order defaults for stock, for options, futures, and forex. And if I did want to adjust one of those, like let's say I wanted to come over here and adjust the options default, because normally I like to trade one option contract at a time, I can now come down here below where it says my default order quantity is 10, and just go ahead and adjust that down to 1. Once we come down here and hit save and then exit out of it, all those settings have now been saved. But that'll be the basics of the general navigation of this app. If we wanted to dive into some of these tools a little bit more in depth, let's come over here to the far left-hand side and begin with this little side panel right here. As you can see, this side panel is currently displaying some of my basic account information, as well as a watch list down here below of some stock that I like to keep track of. You'll notice that the very first buttons up here at the top allow you to go back and forth between your live account, your real money in the account, and a PaperMoney account just if you wanted to practice. Looking right below that, we can also see a little toggle which currently tells me which account I am currently logged into and which one I am currently trading in. And if I were to click on that, I could actually see a list of all of my accounts right down below. And if I have more than one, I could actually flip to the other accounts simply by clicking on them. To go back, I would just come back up here to the toggle, flip it back to my individual account. If you were to look right below that toggle, we can also see some basic balance information, including how much this account is currently worth, how much option buying power I have, as well as stock buying power, and the day trades I have remaining before I'm flagged as a day trader. So breaking that down before we move on too far, this account is currently worth $136,000. I've got $135,000 in option buying power, but I also have $270,000 in stock buying power. So that includes margin. If I were to look below that though, you can see the current cash in the account is $133,000. So that means if I ever spend beyond that cash amount, if I were to actually buy $270,000 worth of stock, that's totally fine. But only $133,000 of that would be my money, The other 140,000 would be a margin loan, and I would be paying interest on that. Now, if I ever did that, if I actually overspent the cash balance, like let's just say I bought $150,000 worth of Apple down here, you would immediately see this cash balance go negative. And in this case, it would go negative $17,000 in that example, saying I'm currently borrowing $17,000 on margin. Now, besides that, the last two figures up here, the P&L day in dollars and the P&L day in percentages, really just shows you how much your account is up or down today in a dollar amount as well as a percentage amount. In my case, since these numbers are in red, I am currently down $22 today, which is a 0.02% move. If we were to come down below that account summary section, below that balances section, if we look right here, we can see a watch list that I currently have open, and in this case, it is currently called the quotes watch list. At the moment, the only symbols in this watch list include IBM, Microsoft, and eBay. If I ever wanted to add symbols to this watch list, I could just come down here to the lower left-hand corner and click on the little plus sign next to symbol, then go ahead and type in the symbol of the stock I wanted to add. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and add Apple, which is AAPL, and I'll go ahead and add Google as well, GOOG, and hit enter on the keyboard. If instead of just adding symbols to this watch list, I wanted to flip to one of the other ones that I've made in the past, I could just come up here to the top to the name of the watch list, in this case quotes, and simply click on it. Then looking down below, I can see all of the watch lists that I've made, all of my personal watch lists. For now, I'm just going to come down here below and flip it over to my Options 2.0 watch list. And in this one, you can see there are quite a few more stocks in this list. If you ever felt like making a brand new watch list, you could come up here to the upper right-hand corner and simply click on New Watch List to make a brand new one. But that'll be the basics of the side panel, the watch list, and how to customize it just a little bit. What I want to do now is actually flip this over to a PaperMoney account, so all the trading we do here in just a minute is going to be just for practice. I don't want to use any of my real money. So to do that, we're going to come up here to the top and simply click on PaperMoney, and now you can see we are in my PaperMoney account. Everything we're about to do is completely fake, but all the prices you see are the real stock market right now. Now at the moment, since I do currently have the positions page open, if we were to come over here to the right-hand side, we can see a breakdown of all the open positions I have in this PaperMoney account. For right now, that simply includes Apple, as well as a position on AMD. And you'll notice the position on AMD actually shows the quantity of that position just the right. Right here it says 100, which means I have 100 shares of stock. Looking above at the Apple position, you'll notice there isn't anything right next to it, and there's actually a little arrow to the left of it. And that simply means that I have multiple positions on Apple, and that generally means I've got options contracts. So if we were to actually click on that little arrow on the left-hand side, you'll then expand the list down below, and here it tells me that I actually have a butterfly on Apple right now. It also shows me each of the legs I used to create that butterfly spread, but we're going to save spreads for a little bit later. I don't want to get too crazy for right now. To keep things simple, let's just come back up here and minimize that Apple butterfly, and instead let's focus on the AMD position, the position right here that says I've got 100 shares of stock. If we were to start looking from left to right, you can see a bunch of information about this position. So here it again tells me how many shares I have in this quantity column. To the right of that, it shows me the trade price, the price at which I bought these shares for. So I bought these 100 shares of AMD for an average price of $70.69 a share. To the right of that, the mark column tells us the current price of AMD right now, and currently AMD is trading for $70.91, which at that price, it actually shows me to the right that I am currently up about $20.01 as of right now. But it's obviously constantly changing because the market is still open. And to the right of that, we can also see the P&L open column, which tells me how much I'm up or down since putting on this position, since the very beginning. And since those two numbers are exactly the same, both the P&L day and P&L open are the exact same number, it means I put on this trade today. But besides those are going to be the basic columns. You can see a bunch more info up here at the top, and you could also add whatever columns that you found useful by coming over here to the gear icon, simply clicking on that. From here, you can then customize those columns. On the left-hand side, you can see all of the columns that I'm already using, all of my visible columns. Then over here on the right, you can see all of the available columns that I could add. Here down below, you can see useful columns like days till expiration, especially if you trade options, or things like earnings per share, ex-dividend date, the extrinsic value. Really, it's just whatever you find useful. Once happy with that, you would simply come up here to the upper right-hand corner and hit close to save it. If you ever wanted to adjust the order of these columns, you could simply click on the column and then drag it where you want it. So in this case, if I wanted to move the BP effect column to the very end, I could simply click and hold down on it and then drag it to the very end here and then let go. Now, besides just showing you everything that you're currently holding, you'll also notice an activity tab right up here above. And if you click on that, this little menu will show you all of your open and working orders, all of the orders that are still working and have yet to fill. Now, at the moment, I don't actually have any open orders, but in a bit, once we place a couple different trades, they will be displayed right up here at the top. But honestly, that is going to be everything you need to know about the positions page and how to customize it at least a little bit. Next up, we're going to talk about the trade page. And this is the page where you're going to spend most of your time within this app. If, for example, we wanted to pull up the trade page for Amazon, we could do so by clicking on the symbol down here in the watch list, or by coming up here to the Find a Symbol box at the very top of our screen and typing in the symbol for Amazon, AMZN. It'll then immediately pull up the Amazon stock profile page where we can see a bunch of relevant fundamental info right up here at the top, a couple trade buttons to actually buy or sell the stock, an option chain, as well as a little chart of recent price history. When it comes to buying or selling the underlying stock itself, like I just said, that's where those little trade buttons up here in the upper right-hand corner are going to come in handy. If you're looking to simply buy the stock, clicking on that buy button will immediately build out an order ticket down here below to buy that stock. Within that order ticket, you could then adjust the number of shares you wanted to buy, the price you're willing to pay for those shares, and the type of order that you wanted to use. Starting over here on the left-hand side, we can see we're about to buy 10 shares, but if I wanted to adjust that down to, let's say, 5 shares for now, after that, I could then come over here to the right-hand side, where at the moment I currently have a limit order selected, meaning I only want to buy this stock if I could get it for this price over here or better. In order to adjust that, we could click on the word limit here and see all of the other order types available to us. And that's going to include from top to bottom a market order. The market order simply meaning that we want to fill immediately and we're willing to take whatever the current price is. There's also a MOC or LOC order, which stands for market on close or limit on close, which I doubt any of you watching this will ever use. So I'm going to skip over them for now. Then scrolling down and looking at the last few here, we've got the stop limit, and the trailing stop orders. All of these are going to be generally used to exit the position you already hold before you lose too much money. That's why you're going to often hear them referred to as a stop loss order. But for now, I'm going to stick with a limit order. I'm just going to come back up here to the top and click on limit. And I'm also going to come down here and adjust the price down to, let's say, $90. I'm saying I only want to buy these 5 shares of Amazon if it ever goes back down to 90 or lower. Once that's done, the very last thing I need to do is adjust how long I want this order good for. At the moment, with the day selected, the order is only going to be good for today, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If it doesn't fill by 4 p.m. Eastern, the order is going to automatically cancel itself. If I were to instead click on that, I can see a few other options available to me. That'll include GTC or good until canceled. Using that one would mean that the order would get submitted every single day until it fills, but it's only going to be active during the regular market hours. So the same hours as the day order, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. After that, we next have the day plus EXT order, which is one way to have the order good for the extended session or the pre and post market hours. So this order would be active from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and if it didn't fill by 8 p.m., the order would automatically cancel itself. After that, the very last one on the list here being the GTC plus EXT order. This one would also be active during the pre and post market as well, but it's going to go out every single day until it fills. For now, I'll just keep things simple, and I'm going to come back up here and flip this over to a GTC order. And before we actually submit it, the very last thing I'll mention is the line right down below the order ticket. This line is how you will add additional orders to your trade to turn this into a more advanced order. This is where you would be able to create orders that trigger other orders or set up an automatic take profit or stop loss order, but check out this video next if you want to learn more about that. For now, we're going to keep things simple and let's go ahead and submit this trade by first hitting the review button in the lower right hand corner. We'll then hit the send button to actually place it. Once the order has been placed, we can see it right down here on the chart itself. If we scroll down just a little bit, that's that little green box right here saying I want to buy 5 shares at $90 a share. We could also see it by scrolling back up and looking at the Amazon trade section. Right here shows me my current position right here, or in this case, my open order to buy those 5 shares of Amazon. And then finally, the last way is by going back over to the positions page, then taking a look in the trade section right here, or the activity section. So here is that open order to buy 5 shares of Amazon at a limit price of $90. If you instead wanted to short a stock, it is a near identical process. However, we'll be entering an order to sell the stock rather than to buy. As an example, let's go ahead and pull up Meta. And just as a reminder, if we wanted to short a stock, we believe the stock is going to go down in value. And to initiate the trade, we will come up here to the upper right-hand corner, and this time click on that big red sell button. In this case, since we don't currently have any shares of Meta, when we place an order to sell the stock, we are going to be selling shares that we don't own, which is going to be automatically a short position. Coming down here to the order ticket, we can now see our order to sell 10 shares, and you know what, I'm going to leave it set to 10 shares. I could also come over here to the actual price of the underlying, or the price that I'm willing to pay for it. And in this case, because I'm shorting it, let's say I only wanted to enter this short position if Meta went up to, let's say, $140. That's when I want to sell these 10 shares of stock. Besides that, the very last thing I could do is adjust how long I wanted this order good for. But for now, I'm going to leave it set as a day order. And now to submit it, we'll come down here below and hit review, and then hit send one more time to actually place it. Just like before, we can find that trade right here within the trade section, but also in the chart section, if we scroll down just a little bit, right here is that working order to short those 10 shares if Meta ever reaches 140. Finally, by going back to the positions page, we can also see that short trade right here. If at some point you ever needed to cancel or edit any of these orders in some way, you could do it right from here. You could have done it from the charts page or from that trade section. But for right now, if we wanted to adjust one of these orders, and let's say we wanted to adjust the short right here, I could do that by coming over here and hitting the little checkmark box on the left-hand side. That will then bring up a little menu down here below where I can then specify if I wanted to outright cancel the order or if I wanted to edit it in some way. In this case, I want to actually edit it. You can then see the order is built back out and I can make my adjustments as needed. But right now, what I want to do is get filled on this short right away. So I'm going to adjust this order type from a limit order to a market order. Now to place it, I'll just come down here below and hit review and then send. Since that was a market order, if I were to come back up here to the positions page, we should now see a brand new short position on Meta, which we can right here. And you can quickly see the difference between a long position, which says plus 100 shares, and a short position, which says negative 10 shares. Now, when the time eventually came to close out of your trades, if you ever wanted to sell the long position or buy back this short, it is a very simple process. All we have to do is click on the symbol of the stock that we want to close. In this case, let's say I wanted to close out this short on Meta. I'm simply going to click on it. You can then see it takes me right back to the Meta trade page where we can find our trades right down here below. So here is that short on Meta. I can also see the position is already check marked over here on the left-hand side, which means if I come down here and hit close selected, it is going to automatically build out an order ticket to buy back that position, to close out whatever it is I currently have. In this case, let's say I wanted to buy back that short if Meta ever dropped down to, let's say 130. I'm going to adjust that over to 130. And now to place it, I'll hit review and hit send. But again, that'll be the process of buying and selling stock within this platform. If you instead wanted to trade options, we would have to start by navigating to the trade page just like before. In this case, let's go ahead and start fresh and flip this over to a different symbol. So let's come up here to the Find a Symbol box and let's throw in, let's just say NVDA. Coming back down below to the trade screen, we are going to find the option chain here. And to open it up, we are simply going to click on that little arrow to the left-hand side. In the section below, we will then be able to see all of the options expirations available for this stock. And I'm not going to dig too deep into options in today's video, so please check out this one if you are looking for a more thorough description, a more thorough overview. However, just as a quick rundown, you will first notice that all of the available dates of expiration are here on the left-hand side, beginning here with the January 13th of 2023 expiration and going all the way out to June 20th of 2025. To the right of each of those dates, you will find the number of days until expiration. So June 20th is 889 days from today. And then finally over here on the far right-hand side, you can also see the implied volatility for that expiration. If you were to come back up here and click on one of these expiration dates, like for example, if we came up here and clicked on January 20th, you will now be able to see a few of the available strikes right down the center. At the moment, we are currently seeing the 155 strike all the way out to the 182.5. If you ever needed to adjust the number of strikes that you currently have visible, you could do so using the strikes menu up here in the upper right-hand corner, currently marked strikes 12. And if we click on that, down below in this menu, we can adjust the number of strikes that we are currently seeing. In this case, if I were to come down here and click on 6, you can now see that there are a few less strikes down here below in this column. Now from 162.5 going out to 175. You could also expand the number of strikes by hitting the More button on either side. That is another way to expand the list that you're currently seeing. If you were to look to the left of that strikes column, you will find all of the available call options, whereas looking to the right of those strikes are all of the available put options. At the top of the option chain, you'll also see what information is being displayed in those columns down below. At the moment, I am currently displaying the delta, the probability in the money, and the current bid-ask of those options. In order to change those column headers, you could click on the gear icon right up here at the top next to the word strike. That will then give you a little menu of all the columns you currently have visible over here on the left-hand side, as well as all of the available columns over here on the right-hand side. You can always play with this and add the columns that you find most useful, and then to save it, you will just come up here to the upper right and hit close. But now that you know the basics of the option chain and how to customize it a little bit, when it comes to placing the actual trades themselves, it's pretty straightforward. Whenever you want to buy an option, you are going to click on that option's asking price. Whenever you want to sell an option, you are going to click on that option's bid price. For example, if we were bullish on NVIDIA, we thought that stock was going to go up in value, one thing we could do is buy a call option. Coming down here and looking at the list of available strikes, let's say I wanted to buy the 170 call. Looking to the left, I can see that call is currently trading for 325 by 330. Since I do want to buy it, I'm going to come here to the asking price of 330, go ahead and click on that number. You'll then see that as soon as I clicked on that, an order was immediately built out down here below to buy that call option. Just like with the stock, I could then specify the number of contracts that I wanted to buy. I could adjust the price that I'm paying for it, the order type I'm using, and how long I wanted that order good for. Just keep in mind that each option contract represents 100 shares of stock. So one contract over here, when I'm buying it for $330, that is truly $330. If we instead wanted to buy a put option, if I were to come down here and delete this, coming back up here to the list of available strikes, and this time, let's say I wanted to buy the 165 put, coming here to the right, I can see that put is currently trading for 224 by 226. If I wanted to buy that put because I thought the stock was going to go down in value, I would simply come here to the current asking price of 227 and click on that number. Just like in the previous example, it built out an order ticket down here below, but this time we're buying one of the 165 puts. We would again adjust the price, the type of order, and the time in force, and then review it and send it if we actually wanted to place it. But that'll be enough to get you started with options. After that, there's really only one last thing that you'll need to know how to use and customize, and that's going to be the charts within here. In order to find that chart, let's go ahead and delete this option contract out of here. Then let's come down here and scroll down just a little bit where we can now see the chart for NVIDIA. Beginning first by looking in the top right-hand corner of your chart, you will first find the time frame of that chart. So currently mine is set to a 1 year, 1 week time frame, meaning that I am looking back one entire year's worth of data, but each one of these candlesticks, these green and red candles, represent one entire week of trading. If I needed to change either of those, I would simply click on the column I wanted to edit. So in this case, if I wanted to look back, let's say further than a year, I could simply click on that, then scroll down just a little bit, and you know what, I'm going to flip it to 5 years worth of data. If I was instead planning on day trading and I wanted this to be a much shorter time frame, I could come back up here to where it says 5 years, and instead let's flip that to just a single day. I can now see my candlesticks are right now representing 15 minutes worth of data, but if I were to click on that, I could adjust it down to just a single minute. So now each one of these candlesticks down here is representing 1 minute worth of data, and if I look at the very bottom of my chart, I can see what time my mouse is currently at. So right here is 2:40 in the afternoon. I move it to the right, 2:43, 2:44. Obviously, I can go back and forth in time. And we could also come down here and hit the little plus sign to zoom in on the chart if we wanted to. For those of you day traders or technical traders out there looking to add specific studies or indicators to your chart, that can be done with the studies icon in the upper left-hand corner. Clicking here, you'll actually see a list of a few of the available studies down here below, as well as a search box at the top if you knew exactly what it is you wanted to add. If, for example, I wanted to add the 50 and 200 period moving averages, I could simply click up there in the search box, go ahead and type in moving average. I can then find it down here below, and I'm simply going to click on the little plus sign to add it. And now I can see it has been added as an upper study over here on the left. But since I wanted to add 2 of them, I wanted the 50 and the 200, I'm going to come back over here and hit the plus sign one more time. So now over here on the left, I've got 2 of those lines. And now to edit them, I'm going to start with the top one and click on the gear icon here. Here I can now adjust the length, whether it's a simple or exponential moving average, what it's based off of, whether it be the close or the ask or whatever value I want to base it off of. And I could also adjust the color right here as well. For this one, I'm going to make it the 50 period average. Type in 50 here. I'm going to leave it set to the simple moving average, but I am going to adjust the color to more of a tealish blue color. That's just the color that I typically like to use, and now to save it, we'll just go back to the studies. And now I just need to edit the 200 as well. So the second one right here, we'll click on the gear icon of that one. I'm then going to adjust this one to the 200 SMA. And now I'm going to come down here to the color and make this one a more of a goldish line. I think that looks good. So now we'll come back to the menu here and hit close in the upper right hand corner, where we can now see both of those moving averages have been added to the chart. But that'll cover all the basics and just about everything you'll need to know if you're just getting started within here. Hopefully you now feel at least a little bit more comfortable with the TOS website and how to trade within here. I know there was a lot that I covered only briefly, so if you are looking to learn more, consider checking out this video next. You might find it helpful as well. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.